to a new goal, to a new dream, to your dreams. And it's something our friends and our family hasn't done before. And with that newness comes some uncertainty. And with the uncertainty comes fear. So if we're going to be successful on these Everest dreams, we have to learn to distinguish between the two types of fear and recognize the first and stop, and recognize the second and overcome. So in order to train for fear, we went here to El Capitan. This is about 3,500 vertical feet of granite. These rock climbs take about a week to get from the bottom to the top. So I drove out there in my old S10. I was living in the back of my truck at this point, and took out the telescope and looked up at the wall, and here's the campground. And here's the lead climber, who's tied together with a single cord to his buddy who's sitting here in the hammock, holding the other end of the rope. And the idea is he should never fall more than twice the distance of his buddy who's hanging onto the rope. So we thought, all right, we're here to train for fear, and began climbing up the rock. And this is the view down. I've climbed up this crack and looking down at my climbing partner, John, who's holding the other end of my rope. And then we hauled our camping gear up behind us. And this is the view looking up. As we climb up a very steep section, under this little ceiling, you can see the rope pointed straight down. And after we got under the ceiling, this is the view of the party in front of us. Here's John, we're tied together. Here's the group in front of us, who we're about ready to pass. And there's their camping gear. So you can see the rock here is about 110 degrees overhanging. If your toes slip off the rock, you just have to do the best you can with your fingertips. So we would climb up the rock during the day, and we would put a piton in the rock at the end of the day and rappel back down on our ropes into the hanging camp. Then the next morning we would climb back up that rope to the high point on the rock and then continue to climb the rock. Then every other day we would move the camp a little bit higher. Now the problem with this plan is that it means on the odd days somebody has to climb the rope. And on this morning it was John's turn. So he lowered out onto the rope. At this point he's about 1,500 feet off the ground, about 60 feet out from the wall, on a single cord, spinning around in circles and bouncing up and down. So you can see this is a great place to train for dealing with fear. So as you're approaching Everest dreams, remember those two types of fear and recognize the first type that protects you from the second type that limits you. Now as we look at El Cap, there's a couple different ways we climb up this thing, and mostly we climb up these cracks that you saw earlier. Now the problem with El Cap is, just